Hello, welcome to Hope for Flint. I'm your host, Kristen Wolosinovich, and we have a very special and important show today for Hope for Flint. I'll start to my far right, my newly dear friend, Daryl Siggers. Hello, sir.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you so much. And now my new friend as well in the middle, Mandrick Bonner. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Thank you both for being here. So this is a really passionate show for me. Daryl, you and I met a few weeks ago, and you were on another show of mine, and we talked about your story. And actually, I would like you to just start for our viewers and listeners to tell us about your background. I'll start real quickly is you were falsely accused of murder, and you served how many years?
34.
You served 34 years in prison, yes. And you were exonerated of all charges. You were falsely identified prior to DNA testing, prior to anything we know now currently. And you have been out how long?
About 9 months.
9 months. So your story is so incredible. Tell me a little bit. Take us back. It was 1984, correct?
Yes.
Okay, take us back.
1984, I went to a party or a get-together with some folks. I went to my son and daughter's mother's home. A couple of guys showed up. There was some drinking, smoking weed, and a fight broke out. A couple of guys left. One of them got shot down the street while I was still in the home. I was later accused of committing the shooting, and I was taken to prison, taken to jail, prosecuted, found guilty, taken to prison, given mandatory life. And 34 years later, a lot of folks got involved. Innocence Project, the Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit investigated the case, found out that the evidence that was used to convict me was false, that the police, threatened witnesses, and subsequently exonerated me of all charges, and here I am.
And prior to you being exonerated, you have been battling this case for years and years and always, since day one, maintained your innocence, correct?
Yes.
Did they offer you a plea deal?
Yes.
What was it, just out of curiosity?
12 years.
And you said?
No. I'm innocent. I'm not going to plead guilty to a crime I didn't commit.
How old were you at the time?
I was 20 years old.
20 years old. 34 years. They offered you 12. You said no because you said bottom line. At that time, did you think you were going to find justice? Did you think it was going to be there for you? I know you felt some anxiety with the current public defender at the time, correct?
Yes.
So what were you thinking during that time? Did you think justice would prevail?
Well, I really didn't know. But one thing for sure, I knew I was innocent. And I just believed somewhere along the way that I would be able to prove that I was innocent, that God would continue to bless my steps and guide my way and provide me a way. I maintained my faith, not in the system, but in God, because the system had showed me over and over and over it could not be depended on to deliver me the justice, because I've been denied appeal after appeal after appeal. But subsequently, I began to study in the law library. I lived in the law library, ate, slept, breathed the law, went to the law library every day until I learned, educated myself, and found out how the system worked. And that's ultimately what led to my eventual release.
I would think a fair statement is that you probably know more, if not more, than most judges.
Well, most lawyers.
Okay, most lawyers, fair enough. So 8 months, and that's sort of the Cliff Notes version of your story, because in looking at you and at your disposition and your attitude and even your physicality, you do not look like a man who served 34 years. Someone who served 34 years, I would think, would be weathered and broke down, and their spirit would be broken down. You, my friend, you look nothing, quite the antithesis. What has been your secret?
Well, again, my faith in God, but one of the things I tried to do was eat right to the extent that I could. Some of the food was just horrible, so I wouldn't eat it. But I exercised, I kept my mind right, and don't get me wrong. When I first went in, I hated the police. I hated anything that had to do with the system, because the system had failed me. But over the years, I began to learn that negative energy keeps you going backwards or keeps you standing still. Positive energy, love, caring motivates you and propels you to go forward. And the more I began to exercise positive energy, be loving and caring, the more good things and positive things began to happen for me.
Came your way.
Yes. And it just began to open up a whole new life for me, a whole new outlook. But my perspective on life changed. My perspective on just everything that I was doing changed. And so people began to come into my life, they began to help me and further my cause. And every time I got to a stumbling block, God would send someone else to remove that stumbling block and allow me to continue to go forward. And that's what kept me positive throughout this whole journey. As I said, I wasn't always positive, but once I switched from being negative to positive.
Once you changed that mindset, it opened up a whole new awakening for you.
Absolutely.
I love that. And when I first met you, I could see that your eyes lit up, and you and I have been talking quite a bit because I think your story is so powerful and I think your message is so powerful. But more importantly, I think your mindset, and now you're an inspiration, and you will be an inspiration, especially for those who are still locked up and falsely accused, especially during those decades prior to all of the technology and DNA and scientific evidence that we currently rely on heavily throughout our justice system. So real quickly, that kind of, leads us to the handsome man in the middle. You're the one who introduced me to Mandrick. And Mandrick's here today because Mandrick is a Flintstone, correct?
Absolutely.
Born and raised Flint, Michigan. And you have been out how long, sir?
I got released in May of 2018, so about a year and 1 month.
A year and 1 month. And how long did you serve?
48 years.
48 years. So your story is a little different because, Daryl was completely exonerated, had nothing to do with it. You admit guilt. You say your statement is?
My statement is that I have to take total and full responsibility for my actions. I exercised horrible judgment as a very, very young man, which is no excuse. And that resulted in me spending the next 48 years of my life behind bars.
Okay.
So when someone says, oh my God, wow, 48 years, I don't allow them to take that narrative any further, because during those 48 years, I was still able to visit my family and loved ones, even though it was in this glass enclosure called a visiting room. I was still able to go outside, and even though I'm surrounded by concertina wire gun towers and brick walls, I could still feel the sun on my face and the breeze. So I had no right to moan and groan about how many years I served when I was responsible for someone no longer having that enjoyment.
I understand that. And you've served your time.
Yes.
And you've been back in your home city of Flint for a year. And Daryl and I have had these conversations. Things have changed a little bit, haven't they?
Absolutely.
There's some technology involved.
One of the things I quickly had to learn is that I had to learn to laugh at myself and laugh at my mistakes. When I came out, obviously everything is technology.
Yes.
So I went to Michigan, worked and took classes down there, computer classes there.
Okay.
Because I wanted to learn. I have a very supportive and strong family who were very helpful during the transition. Some of the technology wasn't totally foreign to me because a lot of the jobs I had in the prison environment allowed me access to some degree of technology.
I was going to say, I'm sure technology made its way to the prison, so something wasn't completely obsolete to you in learning. And I think we're looking at a commonality here between both of you, whether it's mindset or attitude or faith for survival, but it sounds like you both were very passionate about learning and education.
Absolutely. When I went into the system, I didn't have a high school diploma. I secured my GED, 2 associate's degrees, a bachelor's degree, and a master's. I was going to pursue my PhD, but they said we don't send doctorates through the mail. So I had to stop right there. Surrounding myself with positive people, positive thinkers played a major role. also just taking responsibility for what you did,
Owning it.
owning it. I mean, that is a key part that unfortunately too many don't seem to understand. One of my best friends while I was in the system is this gentleman right here. I watched him when he first came into the system. I watched his progress. I watched his growth. Sometime when I listen to him telling his story, I just sit back and shake my head because there's so much that's not being told in this narrative that should be told. He's a remarkable young man, well, middle-aged man right now, but he's a remarkable person.
I agree with you.
And the impact that he has had, not only in terms of what he's trying to do out here, but the impact that he's had on the men inside the prison environment, prisoners. For an example, it's hard to establish your credibility as being honorable in the prison environment, especially with staff. You really have to prove yourself. Absolutely. Today, as a matter of fact, this morning, we actually called a current prison employee and just shared some of our experiences in terms of what we've done since we've been released. And, I do this often. All my experiences with staff was not horrible, it wasn't negative. There was some was positive, constructive. There was some that was the exact opposite. But I tried to see people the way that they were. You got people working in the system. It's a very difficult job. They're coming in here trying to feed their families and things of that nature.
And it sometimes kills their spirit, doesn't
absolutely,
it?
Absolutely. And after a while, you get to understand these is just regular people just trying to provide for their families. And in turn, they get a chance to see you a little bit differently as well. And those relationships build. There's a lot of men that's currently serving time the same way. I wish and hope and pray that they have the same opportunity that I currently find myself in because they paid their debt and they want to make a contribution as well. Yeah.
So when you both get out after such a long time and they open those doors, are there resources? I'll turn this over to Daryl real quickly. Are there resources that are provided to you to get what you need to start working, start paying start becoming into civilization?
That's a yes and no question. And let me tell you why. For someone like me, they have what they refer to as, what do they call it? It's a program.
Reentry? Is it reentry?
Yes, the reentry program.
Okay.
But it primarily applies to individuals who have been convicted and are ex-convicts.
So you're a different outlier.
Yes. And so those programs they weren't designed for exonerees. And so in many respects, I didn't qualify and I don't qualify.
Because you can go and apply for jobs and that's not going to be, a felony is not going to be on your background check.
That is correct.
So do they see that you have more opportunity to go and sustain for yourself, do you think?
I don't know if that's exactly it. That may be part of the dynamic and how they thought of it when they designed
On how
this.
they, right.
But I don't think they just considered exonerees when they was crafting this particular program.
Okay.
And so even though exonerees may not have these prior, convictions on their record, it is still something that employers can go on and see. They can go Google it and they can still see it. So it's still a hurdle that we still have to overcome.
Right.
And people still don't want necessarily folks who are working for them who served long terms of years because they feel like you are somehow damaged in some way.
Right.
And so it's still, it can be a burden still.
Wow. And these are conversations that we need to have them because it is, just like Mandrick said, you've paid your debt to society. I think you two are coming out of the system highly educated. You are ready for a difference. You're ready to live your life and you're ready to start paying taxes, start giving back, start serving your communities. Yes. So that's why I think it's so important that you're here and we continue to have these conversations because you two will lead the way because actually today there's more people getting out. Yes. Every single day they're getting out and every single day they need people such as yourselves leading the way, helping guide and map their direction. Because we don't want let's just be real. It could be easy to fall back whether it be you two, you two are strong, but it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be numbing, it could be something. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm not saying it's not going to happen without the right leadership.
Yep, I agree with that 100%. And then everybody, I won't say everybody, but a lot of people have triggers, certain things that
That's exactly
will
right.
send them backwards
Right.
or not allow them to move forward. And so I've just made up my mind that I'm not doing anything. I don't have to do anything wrong. I got out, I created a business, Access Plus.
Yes,
And,
Access Plus. And what does Access Plus do?
Access Plus, what it essentially does is it connects people to resources.
Mm-hmm.
One of the challenges that prisoners have that I had, and I spent many, many years designing this program. As a matter of fact, Mandrick here was my mentor, and he would help me with all types of problems, help me see things. I would bring stuff to him to read. But anyway, Access Plus, it provides individuals the opportunity to get their prosecutor's files, their Detroit police files, and these are documents and records that people need.
They're public record.
Yes, to file appeals, because a lot of times when people are going through the trials, certain information may be withheld by the police, by the prosecutor's office, that was not given to defense lawyers. And so years later, when you go back and FOIA file a FOIA request, so that's a Freedom of Information Act request, you'll find documents that were not given to your lawyer, that were not given to the defense, and you can use these documents as new discovered evidence to file subsequent appeals. And so we help people get whatever they need. People come to us about information. Once they're released, people come to us for information about reentry programs, housing.
So are you referred, when they get out, do they refer, do you get referrals, or how do people know about you?
Well, we send out flyers.
So you market, but
yes.
are you part of the prison system where if people got out, then they would give your card to them? Is that something that we
No.
could do? Okay.
Now, that's not something that the prison Michigan Department of Correction does, but that is something that we do, that people in the neighborhoods do. They say, listen,
Okay.
and Access Plus, our business goes around, people all in the communities know about it, and they give out cards and stuff and
Okay.
information.
Very good. Very good. I'm going to turn it over to Mandrick real quick. So that's fascinating, and I love your friendship. I love your fellowship. I love what you two have formed. Yeah. It's really great. So when he got out before you, you're like, where are you, Mandrick? Where's my friend? Where's my friend? But I have to talk to him about Flint Town a little bit. Right. So Mandrick gets back to Flint Town, and we're learning, because my mom was a Northwestern Wildcat. You're a Northwestern Wildcat.
Yes.
Would have had your 50th class reunion.
Yes.
You'll be happy to know they did a fundraiser. All their money went to the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Flint to help that youth. But it's very interesting. What are your thoughts on some of your neighborhoods here in the city? You can be honest. It changed.
In prison, even though you're living in a captured environment, you still receive a lot of information from various sources about Flint or whatever the case may be. So I heard about the Flint water crisis and how much of a challenge that was. And if Flint had changed, you'd be hearing narratives like that. When my family came to pick me up and they brought me home to our family home, they pulled up in the driveway, and I literally didn't realize that I was at home because the neighborhood...
Is it still the north side?
Yes. The neighborhood had literally changed that much. It was one lady's house across the street that was yellow that made me say, oh my God, we at home. Even my family's home, they had tore the front part down and just rebuilt it with this nice brick fronting that wasn't there when I left. Seeing a lot of abandoned houses, the open fields, even the roads, where now you literally can't turn your head to the west or the east. You literally have to watch where you're driving in many parts of the city because of the potholes. But I've also discovered, since I've been out, that Flintstones are resilient. Flintstones don't give up. And you can see people who are still fighting hard in the communities. You can see work being done in the downtown area. I went and visited the University of Michigan, Flint, which is a beautiful campus. I believe Flint is going to recover. I don't believe it's going to happen overnight.
No.
But I believe that the foundation, maybe the people that's necessary to make that happen, is currently here right now. And I
agree.
hope to be part of that process.
You are. You're here.
Yeah.
This is it. Only the beginning.
Yeah.
I love that answer. My parents talk about growing up in Flint during that time, 50s, 60s, 70s. The parks were overfloweth with kids.
Yes.
The athletics were amazing. My dad says it was the most amazing time to grow up in the
Yes.
city. He played semi-pro ball, semi-pro hockey. The ball teams were like
Yes.
unbelievable.
Yes.
So I think it probably was quite a culture shock for you to come back. But I think you hit the nail on the head that we are working diligently to bring old school back.
Yes.
And you're starting to see it. You're starting to see inner city programs become robust, and they're making a major priority.
Absolutely.
And I am thrilled that you are here and that you're going to be a big part of it. And I think our friend Daryl is going to be here quite a bit too,
Yes.
being a big part of it. And I think with what you both are doing, your efforts with the company in reaching out, because I think now there has to be some big reform within our legal system, because perhaps even some of the crimes that are being committed, the length of time you both served, I don't believe people are serving that length of time currently. I mean, I think there's been big changes, but there's still people incarcerated like Daryl that don't belong there.
Yes.
And
I
I
agree with that.
I think we need to work hard to get them out. I think the Innocence Project is only the beginning, and I think Hope for Flint's going to be a big part of it. Okay, I'm really excited for you both. I'm going to turn this back over to Daryl real quickly. We're going to end. Daryl, what's in your future, babe? What are we seeing from you? What can we look for you? How can people get a hold of you personally?
They can go to my website
Okay.
at Legal Access Plus, and they can find out what they need to know about me, or
Legal Access Plus, yes.
.com.
Dot com.
Yes, legalaccessplus.com.
Okay.
They can go to my Instagram.
Okay.
It's dsiggers16.
And that's DSIGGERS 16
Yes.
at
I'm not sure.
Gmail.
Yes, Gmail.
Gmail.com.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You're so welcome. Check Daryl out. It's only the beginning. Daryl's going to be on Hope for Flint with Mandrick. We're going to continue to have them on as regular guests. They're going to bring information. They're going to bring stories and stories of hope for Flint specifically, but they're going to change lives, and we're honored and privileged to be a part of it.
And if I may, I want to just thank you, Kristen, for the work you're doing. I think it's amazing that you're bringing awareness, and to even have us on this program right now. Thank you so much, because these programs are necessary to enlighten the public and keep this discussion going, and not only the discussion, but the actual work that needs to be done. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my honor and privilege. Thank you for those kind words. Mandrick, we will be making sure you're signed up for all the volunteer work.
Yes, ma'am.
You will be with us. We are excited to have you back at your home, and it sounds like it's only the beginning for you as well. And thank you for being such a major mentor to Daryl, and I'm sure many other people as well. And now you're back home to serve and give back to this community as well.
I just want to say one thing. I want to piggyback on something that Daryl just said. Initially, I think you were scheduled just to meet with him. And I guess through conversations, my name came about. Daryl insisted that I be here and that I take, that I take part in this program because you impressed him so much.
I'm kind of a big deal, Mandrick.
And I know this gentleman here very, very well. He's not easily impressed. And he understands that my time to me is very valuable, and I don't engage in anything that's,
That's
it's
not worth
fruitless.
your time.
And he was just so insistent, so adamant about, no, you have to take part in this. You have to be a part of this. You have to get involved. And I can tell you right now, I have no regrets. I'm very happy that I came down this morning. And if I can be of any assistance in any manner, shape, or form, all you have to do is call, send a smoke signal, or just shout
Perfect.
out loud.
I have my voice carries very loud, so
Yes.
you'll hear me.
Yes.
Thank you too for those kind words. I'm a firm believer there are no accidents in this world.
Yes, I agree.
So you two were both very meant to be sitting next to me. Thank you, Daryl Siggers. Thank you, Mandrick Bonner. Only the beginning, your journey, your stories, they, as tough as they are, there's going to be massive beauty to come out of both of you.
Thank you.
I can't appreciate you both enough.
Thank you.
You both are Hope for Flint.